Hi guys, welcome back to Last Week with Nora, featuring a special blonde cameo from my in-between hair dye jobs. I'm gonna finish up tomorrow, do the red. It was root touch-up time, and I realize now paired with this shirt, it's very much giving Cassie from Euphoria having a meltdown over Oklahoma. Thankfully, that is not the case today. No meltdowns for once in my life. Instead, I'm here to talk to you today about a film that really just has stayed with me. And it's not, I don't think it's a very popular one or a very memorable one for a lot of people. And I know I'm preparing to mispronounce the name because it's one of those words where it's like a tongue twister to me. I always stumble upon it, but I'm going to attempt this in real time. So it's 1984, directed by Charles Shire. It's Irreconcilable Differences. Basically, it's that's the thing about it that I love, kind of, because let me just parse this out real quick. So we've seen for a long time in cinema allusions, making very specific but still broad allusions to a real life person or event, to kind of steer clear of copyright or lawsuits. The first example that comes to mind is Where Love Has Gone, from 1964, with Bette Davis and Susan Hayward playing basically a facsimile of Lana Turner. And then Bette Davis is this invented mother character, but Susan Hayward is basically Lana Turner, is with this sleazy boyfriend who gets stabbed, has the daughter involved, all that stuff. But it's not so, but it's obtuse enough in a way that if you aren't super familiar with old Hollywood lore, you're not gonna get it. And I guess you could argue the same of this film, Irreconcilable Differences. Because if you don't know much about Peter Bogdanovich or Sybil Shepherd or Polly Platt, but still, there's no subtlety. Like, the only thing that is different is the changing of the names, and the fact that Shelley Long's character, who is the stand-in for Polly Platt, is more of a hybrid of Platt and Nora Ephron, because she's a novelist and not so much a producer or designer. But it's just the absolute gall of Shire in making this film, only 13 years after the whole affair went down, with Bogdanovich making Last Picture Show and meeting Sybil Shepherd, and consequently leaving Polly Platt for her when he already had kids. The fact that they transposed it just detail for detail, almost like cinematically verbatim, if you will. Ryan fucking O'Neal is wearing the little bandana necktie that Bogdanovich basically trademarked, like, as his fashion. He has the glasses. He's going to LA originally to teach film, and then he gets this big movie opportunity. He has this big breakthrough. And it's so hyper specific, and like, maybe this is why it hasn't endured, because in a way I retract what I said, where it's it's something where, like, these parallels are undeniable. But again, if you aren't familiar, I guess, with Bogdanovich or the film community, you're not going to be attuned to them. You're just going to think, oh, this is like a sort of dark comedy about marriage between, like, this film nerd dude and his wife. And I don't know if the way that they met, their meet cute, was accurate. Probably not. Again, definitely there's some liberties being taken here, and necessarily so, to protect, probably for Shire to protect himself. But it opens with O'Neal's character going on this, like, impassioned tirade about the Lubitsch touch, which spoke to me personally. But it's just like, these little details are so integral to capturing the spirit of someone like Bogdanovich, who was a diehard cinephile, and the ilk of Scorsese, with these new wave cinema auteurs who would come up and rise in the 70s. And of course, it takes place in like 1971 or somewhere along those lines, maybe 74. And it kind of goes through their whole trajectory. Even down to Sharon Stone in her debut part. Just absolutely eating it up as the would-be Sybil Shepherd. You know, she's like the little blonde ingenue who is, you know, fortuitously discovered, and she's really sexy and playing all coy and really like shy but sweet. And then you see, obviously, like, it's opportunism, and I feel like Stone plays this, conveys this very well, as we continue to see through her film career, kind of, you know, really coming to a head with Basic Instinct. She's very good at striking that perfect balance of duality where she kind of lets the audience know, through her eyes, like this little glint in her eyes, this like very subtle expression, that she's conning the characters. But in delivering her performance, it's just, you know, it's flawless, almost too perfect. I mean, she's super sweet, she's wholesome, she's always put together. And she kind of, it's almost sort of like breaking the fourth wall a little bit, where she's like, yeah, I know you can see what's going on, but the people in this room, in this situation, can't. And that's evident here in our first movie, which, goddamn, we love Sharon Stone. But anyway, yeah, so, you know, throw all those pieces of the equation together, and you're left with this just tremendously appalling, kind of, I guess, if you will, adaptation of one of the biggest scandals within, like, the film community at that time. And it's just, I don't know. I find Shire's effrontery very honorable and commendable in a lot of ways, because it takes a thick spine, as they say, to just kind of go out and do that, especially when all the subjects of your picture are alive and very much still enjoying their careers. Well, Bogdanovich, but you know, it's incredible. So I recommend for any of my film fans to check that out. I mean, it probably won't appeal to those who aren't, again, as clued into the lore of, you know, cinema history and all that, and the little intricacies. But even still, even if you view it separately through a different lens that isn't specific to Shepard, Platt, and Bogdanovich, it's truly a fascinating, just dramatic, funny, but tragic, with a tragedy, of course, being supplied by the ever-effervescent Drew Barrymore, who is playing their child, and she's just, the whole comedic gag of it is that she's filing for legal emancipation from her parents, because she just can't take it. She can't take being neglected or cast aside, or, you know, kind of being like the in-between pull object. And it's, you know, coincidental that Barrymore would eventually go on to do that herself, from her own family. But it's very well-rounded. It kind of strikes a bunch of different dynamics, and most importantly, it's very engaging throughout. So that's my movie of the week. Didn't have a lot to choose from. Like I said, I've been busy, been having some car troubles, which has kind of limited my free time, and to compensate, I have to be working more. But I'm hoping this coming week we'll get some good watches in. I'll have a little more of a library to cull through. Maybe some new watches, since, you know, I've been falling behind a bit on that. But again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next week.